Okay. Everyone see PowerPoint now?
Yeah.
Okay. So welcome to our first session for CAM, and we're going to be doing specifically mill CAM, since I don't know how to use the lathe yet, but we'll work on that. So for today, we're just going to be learning up how to set up our toolbar. And eventually, you should be able to know like where all the buttons are for the most part after today's session. And then we're going to be creating stock in Esprit and assigning parts. So for those of you guys who are new to machining, stock is essentially whatever material you're using to create the part. And for mills, for most of the time, they are typically like rectangular prisms. And after that, we're going to learn how to create chains, which are essentially Esprit's way of figuring out the geometry of the part, since Esprit isn't very smart and it can't figure that out on its own. So we pretty much have to tell it everything. Yeah, so first, if you can download the template file. So there is a template file and there's the part file. The template file is called Minimill, which essentially the preloaded settings that the Washburn staff recommend for their machines. And it also includes some tools that are typically used in the shop. So that's also usually really good to have, since you don't want to be loading in tools into the file every single time you create a new CAM file. So first, you can just open up Esprit and then put the template file inside this location. So if you go to Documents, TP Technology, then Esprit, then Data, and then Templates, just insert that template file called Minimill, and then we'll be able to use it.
I have a problem. I wasn't able to download Esprit.
Okay.
So I click on the installer and just nothing happens.
Okay, we can work that out another time. So I guess for today, you just follow along with the slides.
Okay.
But the slides are pretty comprehensive, so on your own time, you should be able to replicate what we are doing today. So yeah, so you guys go ahead and open up Esprit. Before you do that, you want to make sure your VPN is on, otherwise you won't be able to load up Esprit. So just let me know when you guys all have Esprit open to this page over here where it says new file and stuff. Is everyone still in the process of doing that?
I'm just loading up right now.
Okay. I'll just wait a few minutes so you guys can get here first.
Personally, I'm good.
Are there anyone that hasn't gone here yet? Okay. Then I'm just going to continue. So once you see this, it's going to ask for you to upload your template file, which is the file called Minimill. So if you go ahead and click on Browse, it will automatically bring you to the template folder, which your template file should be in. And you can just double click it and it should open up. So if you look at the left side where my cursor is, there's a tab called Tools, and these are the tools that are loaded up from the template. And these are very common tools that you would use for almost every like milling operations, like face mill, end mills, all those stuff. But tools that are not in here would be typically drills and taps, which we'll learn how to put into a spree in a future date. So now that we have this spree open with our template file, we're going to want to open up our part. So if you go to File and then Open, wherever you saved your file, just go to that. It's going to be called Part 1. And something important that you do, and don't forget, is that on the bottom left, there's a checkbox for merge. If you have merge on, it will combine your part file along with your template. If you don't have merge on, it will just open up your part and then your template will disappear. So make sure you have merge on so you don't override the template. Yep, and then afterwards, make sure you have merge on and then press open. Then your part is gonna load up into a spree. Yeah, so some basic tips to pan in a spree. You want to hold your scroll bar and then drag around. That is how to pan in a spree. It's like pretty much like opposite of SolidWorks. So like if you in SolidWorks, if you hold the scroll button and drag that around, it rotates. But then if you press Control and do the same thing, it pans. But it's opposite for a spree. So if you do Control and then press on the scroll wheel, it will rotate. Yeah. So those are two main things that you can do to move the part around. Then, so our toolbar is at the top, and I think the two toolbar stuff that you really need is this one. Oops. Is this. So it's called layer and planes, and you can find your toolbars by going to edit and then, view, toolbars, and these are all the different toolbars you can use. So if I go to here, layers and planes and then smart toolbars are typically the ones that I usually use. There aren't other ones that are too important unless you get a little more advanced. But smart toolbar pretty much encompasses all the toolbars that you'll end up using. So if you go to view, toolbars, you can open up layers and planes, and then you can open up smart toolbar, which is on the bottom. So for the layers and planes toolbar, if you click on this drop down over here, you can
Sorry, wait, what was the toolbar thing again? Sorry, my apologies.
So the two important ones are layers and planes and smart toolbar. And you can open those by going to view and then toolbars. So if you like open up a new one, like let's say I open up like create features, it will pop up this window and you can just drag it into that area. Or if you want to remove one of them, you can just drag it out and then exit out.
Sweet. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, on the just drop down over here, you can look at different views like isometric or front, stuff like that, which is useful in my opinion. And then for a smart toolbar, their first three buttons are essentially the type of cam you want to do. So the first one's mill, then lathe. I think this one is probably EDM or something of that sort, or like laser cutting, stuff like that. And then the next important one you will use is this one, this thing called features, which we're going to be using to create our chains and selecting our geometry. And then this one over here is called milling operations, which we'll be using to actually program the machine and tell it where to cut on the stock. And then the screen one over here is what we use to simulate those tool paths. So it's important that we simulate the tool paths once you create them, so we know that it's cutting the stock where we want it to. Yeah, and that way we can also determine if like the tool is gonna maybe crash into the part in a place that you don't want it to do that, and that's something that the simulation toolbar can figure out it'll pretty much like blink red if it tells you something in the program is crashed, which is good because you rather crash it in a spree than crash it when you're actually machining it, because that would just could be dangerous and cost a lot of money to break stuff. So just have those toolbars open, layers and planes, and smart toolbar. Those are the important ones. We've loaded up our part, and this is the part that we're going to be making. There's several features, some holes, there's some slots, there's some pockets. We're not going to do any of the toolpaths today. We're going to start them next week, but today we're going to be creating the chains. So we'll be able to use those chains to create our toolbars next week. So this is how the axes are oriented, which, I mean, pretty much makes sense. X, Y, and Z should be self-explanatory. And so the next step is we want to move the part in such a way that it's machinable. So if you ever seen what a CNC mill looks like, it's like it has the tool above the part, and then it moves around in the X and Y and Z directions. So all the features that you want to cut out have to be on the top of the part. So there's different ways of moving the part, and right now we're going to want to set the origin point of the part, which we're just going to do the dead center of, like, we're going to put the origin like in this area. But right now it's looking not like this, but we want it to look like this. So one important thing, so if you click on the part right now, it's going to select the entire thing, and that's not what we want. On the bottom here, it says sub elements and highlight. We want to have both of them on, so that way we can select actual lines and we can select faces. If you don't have those on, it's going to automatically select the entire part. Yeah. So once you have sub elements and highlight on, you're going to be able to select the face. So let's say we want to select this face over here. So we're just going to left click it. And then if you look at the bottom left corner, it's going to ask, is this the correct choice? So if it is, then you're just going to left click again anywhere else, and that confirms the choice. And then you see how it's highlighted now. And if you look on over here, it says you have selected one feature. So yeah, that's how you select one type of geometry. If you wanted to select like two geometries, like this face and this face, you would just hold Control, click on one of them, left click again to confirm it, which is pretty much telling the spree that this is, yes, this is what I wanted to choose. So you left click again, hold Control again, and then click on the second feature that you want to highlight. And then you're gonna, every time you click on a feature, you want to left click again to confirm that's the right feature that you want.
Hey, Terence.
Yep.
I think Keelan and I both have a question, but Keelan was first.
Oh yeah, I don't see like your camera, so you guys can just like interrupt me if you have any questions.
All right. How do you get that side window?
On the left?
Yes.
If you go to View, then you could Properties. Yes. So Properties is this bottom one over here, and then there's another one, Status Bar. No, I think Project Manager. Yes. So let's say you don't have either of them on. So is this what you see right now?
Yes, I got.
Okay. Yeah. So View, just open up Project Manager and then open up Properties, and you should be able to use. Yeah. These are the only two that you really need.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kevin, did you have a question?
Mine was the exact same issue.
Okay. Were you able to figure that out now?
Yes, I'm just reorientating things because I have that issue with my screen where it's the resolution's weird, so everything kind of looks whack.
Were you able, like, the 4K issue?
Yeah.
Were you able to fix that?
Kind of. We're gonna find out.
Okay. Cool. Is it okay for me to continue?
Yep, I think so.
Okay. So the first method to move your part is to orient it along different axes. So let's say we could so what we could do is click on a face, left click again to confirm it, and then if we go to edit, and then we could on the bottom over here where it says orient part, you can orient that face along different axes. So let's say we just click align align Z, then it will align that face with the Z axis. Yes. But let's say we want it to look like this. What we want to do is if we select two faces, it will align the midplane of those two faces along that axis. So if we click this face and this face, you'll see how it's now selected too. But if you hold Control, you'll be able to select multiple faces and put them together. And then if you go to Edit, Orient Part, and then you can align X. So now those two faces, the midplane of those two faces, is now oriented with the X axis. Now we can orient the other two faces, this one and this one, with the Y axis. If you look, it is now selected 4. So if you click away anywhere else, it'll. Yeah.
Sorry about this. So wait, I clicked on both of them, and then how did you originally orient them?
So if you go to Edit, then Orient Part, then you can press align with certain different.
Choose the mid one.
Hmm?
You can click one of those, and it'll automatically choose the middle of the two selected.
Yes. So if you highlight two faces that are parallel with each other, it will orient the middle plane of those two faces.
Got it. Thank you.
Everyone good so far? Okay, I'll continue. So yeah, if you highlight this face and then highlight the one on the opposite side, we're going to want to orient that on the Y axis. So we just go to Edit, Orient Part, Align Y. So you guys, you may not have seen, what you have right now may not look like this. Just because this tree is a little wacky like that. It will just do different things sometimes. But let's say we want to put the axis on the top surface, like over here. Then what we can do is just click on one face, which is the top face over here. Left click to confirm that choice. Go to Edit, and then Orient to the Z. That way, it will align that top face to the Z axis. Well, it'll set that to Z equals 0, and then we'll have what we want to see. I will give you guys a few seconds to get to here before I move on.
Is there a way to put labels on the axes just to make sure that you're doing it in the right direction, or no?
I don't think so. But this way is X, positive X. This way is positive Y, and then vertical one is positive Z.
But if you change your camera around, then you lose track.
Yes. That's why being in isometric is good.
Camera set? Like you know how in SolidWorks you can do Control 7? Is the same.
I don't think so. No, there's no shortcut. So I recommend trying to be in isometric view as much as possible, so that figuring out the axes is simple. Okay.
I think F7 might get you to isometric view. I'm not sure though.
It brought me to top view.
Oh.
Oh, F8. F8 is
yeah,
isometric.
So...
Oh. Okay, cool. That's good to know. So this isn't how I want the part to look. So if you see, look over here, this hole over here is in the top left. but the way I want it oriented is the hole to be on the bottom right. So what you can do is highlight the entire part, just like drag, and then you'll see how I've selected entire part. Then if you right click and press copy, it will bring to this window. You'll have, you click on this drop down, you'll have different type of things that you can do to this part. And what we want to do right now is rotate. But before we rotate anything, it gives you the option to move the part and then copy it. So if you have copy like checked on, then it will create another part with whatever transformation that you want. But that's not what we want right now. It's helpful to use copy when, like, let's say you have created a fixture with multiple stock pieces, and then you just want to copy multiple things, so you don't have to create the toolpaths again. But as of now, we're just creating one part, so we can just click move, which doesn't create a new part. It just translates or rotates whatever you have currently. So we're going to do rotate, and then depending on how many degrees yours need to rotate, you can just type it in here. And then when you press OK, it will ask you select center of rotation. So we're going to want to rotate this about the z-axis. So if you click on the z-axis right here, you'll see that it gets highlighted, and then it's asked, is this the correct choice? Then you left click again, and it does that. And you're able to rotate stuff along different axes, like the x-axis and the y-axis. But for our purposes, we wanted to rotate it about the z-axis. Is everyone doing good so far?
Yep.
Okay. There's also different ways to set your origin points. So if you go to edit, I don't recommend that you do this because you'll have to align your axes again. But if you want to, that's okay. You can always click over here, edit, and then move origin point. So you do this, and you can click on certain points. But right now you're not able to because it doesn't know the geometry. So if you want to select a certain point, you could highlight the entire part, right click, press copy, and over here you can press smash. What smash does, it turns all of those lines into something that you can click on, and that's helpful if you want to select different geometry. So if you press OK, you'll see how these lines are now visible. Therefore, you can be able to select different points. So you should smash it now because we will be using these 2D lines and points in the future. So like I was saying before, you click edit, then move origin point, then you could select different points. You can see that the cursor snaps onto a point if you see that little thing to the bottom right of the cursor. It's like a square and then a line, diagonal line. If you click on a point, then it'll move the origin to that point, which is useful and sometimes, depending on how you set your work offset. But as of now, we're just going to keep the origin in the center top surface of the part. It just keeps it simple. There are different reasons why you will want origins in different places of the part, but we'll talk about that in a future session. So now, does everyone have this set up so far?
I accidentally moved my origin beforehand, so how did you get the lines to show up?
How do you get the lines, like these lines?
Yeah.
If you highlight the entire part and then copy, you can choose this mesh option, which turns all the features into 2D features.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'm gonna. I have to head out early.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, I'll try to figure out the Esprit thing later.
All right, cool. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Now that we have the part in Esprit with our origin set, now we can create stock. And if we looked at our drawing, we can see that our part is 7 inches long 4.5 inches wide and 2.5 inches tall. So let's say we're able to get a piece of stock that was 8 by 5 by 3, which is slightly larger than the part, which is what we want. We could put those dimensions into Esprit so that it would know exactly how the stock looked like. So if we go back to our toolbar, in the Smart Toolbar section, if we click on Simulation, this green option over here, you can click on it, and then all these simulation toolbars will open up. The one we want is this one that looks like a page next to the red one, which is called Simulation Parameters. So if you click on that, you'll see 2 tabs on the top, Options and Solids. For now, we're just going to go to the Solids toolbar, and there you can already see there's different types of things you can do. You can set your stock, your target, and your fixtures. Right now we're going to set the stock, and then for stock you can create it from a block, a file, a solid, extrusion. There are a ton of different ways to create stock. Well, right now we're just going to make it out of a block. Our stock is going to be 8 in length, 5 width, and 3 height. So we can go ahead and put those numbers in for your defined rectangular block. And then we want the stock to be placed like we want it to overlap the part perfectly. And so we would do that by assigning it a start X, Y, and Z value, which is this corner of the stock. And that's, you're gonna want the start value to be off-centered from the origin. So it'll just be, the start X will just be the negative of half of its length. It would just be essentially, this is the x-axis over here. And this part is starting at -4. Its y value is starting at -2.5, and the z value is going to be -3. We're setting to -3 so we can get the top of the stock on the aligned with z equals 0, which is like the origin. So if we do that, we can do -4, -2.5. Does it make sense why these are our start x, y, and z values? Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense.
After
Just
we,
a question. Why did we move the origin? Because if we didn't move the origin, it would have been defaulted at the right XYZ, right?
what do you mean that we? So we move the origin with relation to that part.
Got it.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay. So after we have these values, you can press add, and then on the left side, you've created your first stock part. With every stock, you can assign a target. Your target is what your part is going to be. So you can change your definition type to target, and then create from solid. Once you have that, you can move your parameters window a little bit. Click on this thing right here next to select features. Then you can click on the part, and then it's going to ask you, is this the correct choice? Then click again. Then you'll see over here it has selected a part, and then once you do that, you can press add. And now there's now a target assigned to that stock. If you ever wanted to adjust your target or your stock, you can change these numbers and then press update, and then it will update that over here. Once you have that done, you can just press OK, and your stock will be there. Okay. Something to notice is that the stock is taller than the part. So that means we want to be able to cut the stock so until it's 2.5 inches tall, because the part is 2.5 inches tall, and the part is 2.5 inches tall, and the stock is 3 inches tall. So we're gonna have to remove half an inch of material to get it to the right height. And to do that, we're going to need to lower the part in the z direction, so that the stock sits half an inch above the part. Does that make sense?
Does to me.
Okay. So to do that, we can just highlight the entire part, right click, press copy, and then you can just go back to translate. And
Wait, can you
then,
stop 1 second? So wait, to
yes.
add target, right?
Mhm.
You
Yes.
just click select feature, and then you just clicked off after clicking the part.
If you want, I could just do it again.
Yeah.
So let me just delete my target and then go back to definition, and the type is target, and then create from solid. So this is what you're up to, right?
1 second. Give me a sec. So you went.
Okay.
Sorry, I gotta find this.
No worries.
I think my solids got deleted. 1 second. Oh no, it's okay. So I add the stock,
Okay.
and stock you go. It's just the arrow. You just click it.
Click on the arrow. Yep. And then click on the part. Then every time you click on anything, it is going to ask you to confirm. So like what it says on the bottom left corner is asked, is this the correct choice?
Yeah, but
You
your
can
screen doesn't look like mine right now. That's why I'm confused. Because so you have the stock one, which has you're defining your rectangular block, right?
Yes.
And then you add that.
You add the target. Yes. So to select anything in a spree, you first select the thing that you want. Then you left click again to confirm. Then once you see over here, it has selected a part. Are you up to this so far?
I am. I kind of am, but like, so right now it's so solid. Then you select here, select off, and then you just add that. So you would only have stock. You wouldn't have something underneath it. See, yeah, I don't know how you're getting
You don't
target.
see target.
No.
You can click on this minus thing over here. It might have disappeared.
No, there's no minus thing there.
Do you have, before you add the target, you should have stock highlighted so it knows what to add it to. Oh, not that.
So should I add the block first, right?
Yes, add the block first, and that will be, the block is your stock.
And
Then you
then
want to switch instead of stock, switch the target and switch block to solid.
got it. Okay, wait, there.
Then select your part by
Uh-huh.
clicking, left click again to confirm, then press add.
Okay, now I got it. My apologies. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And then you can just press OK. Going back to what I was saying, we're going to want to move the part half an inch down so that we're going to give it room to remove material on the top side. So essentially, we're going to want the bottom face of the part to be on the same level as the bottom face of the stock, because we're always cutting from the top down. So we just highlight, right click, press copy, then switch whatever your transformation type to translate. And then you're able to translate into X, Y, and Z. So we want to switch Z to be negative 0.5 because we want it to move half an inch down, and press OK. Then you'll see that the stock has moved down a little bit. It's now half an inch below the origin. Okay, once we've gone to here, I'm going to recommend that you save as, in case the spree decides to crash, then you'll lose everything. I'm just going to save whatever you want. So now you'll have your spree file saved, and you'll just continue from here. So now you have stock, and now we're going to talk about different features that we have in this part. You could look at these features more thoroughly if you open the solid file in SolidWorks, but right now we're just going to look at it from here. One thing I will note that is spree, you won't be able to see the threads if it's a tapped hole. So that's something you're gonna have to know, like, as you design the part, and you should like don't forget that these holes have threads in them because you won't be able to see it in Esprit. So yeah, there's 7 tapped holes. There is a slot over here. There are 2 pockets, one in the middle and one on the bottom right side, and then there is an outer profile that we're gonna have to create. Those are your features that you have in this part. And different features have different approaches on how you want to create those cuts, and we'll talk about those next week. This I've already covered, how to select different geometry. If you want to select a part, then you want to highlight the entire thing. If you want to select one feature, you click on that feature, left click again to confirm. If you want to select multiple features, then you just hold Control, and then you'll be able to select multiple features at the same time. Because at this point, we're going to start creating chains, which will assign different geometries to Esprit. So Esprit will know where the part is and the geometry that are related to that part. And don't forget to, if you want to select different features, then you want to have sub-elements on and highlight on. So first, we're going to create chains for our 2 pockets. When you want to create a chain, you're going to want to be in this toolbar on the right here. It says it's called Create Features dash Edit Features. So we open that up, and then we'll have a whole bunch of new toolbars that show up. The main one we're going to use for chains is this red one over here. It's called Auto Chain. Does everyone see that? Okay. I'm going to continue. So for pockets, they're really relatively easy to create chains. You just select the bottom face of that pocket. So let's say we want to create a pocket for a chain for this pocket. We're going to click on the bottom face, which is this one, and it's going to ask to confirm, and we just left click again, and now it has selected that face. Once we've done that, we're going to click Auto Chain. Auto Chain is this red button here that I showed you guys before. So if you click on it, it's going to create this chain. The chain is blue and it has.
Wait, when I click on it, it just makes a line.
A line on the bottom face?
It's like when you're drawing a line in SolidWorks and you start with one point, and then it has a line which you can kind of drag around.
Did you click on Auto Chain?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're not like clicking on any of these options, like line?
Yeah.
These lines are also red buttons as well.
It says Auto Chain.
Okay. Sorry. You're in Auto Chain. So why don't you try to do that again? So here in your, I forgot what it's called. It's called Project Manager. You'll be able to see the chains that you've created. So for you, Kevin, you can just click on that chain, press delete, and if you try it again, and I don't know why it's creating a line. So to click on this bottom face, you'll be able to see the face highlighted like this. And
Yeah.
you'll see over here, it says face and then a certain number.
Okay, now I got that.
Yeah. So also, if you click on a line, it will have a different type of thing, or you just select a part.
So you're saying that I select the face before clicking Auto Chain?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you click on Auto Chain first?
Yes, I was. So maybe I was jumping.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you want to click on the geometry before you click Auto Chain. So you can just click it, left click again, press Auto Chain, and you'll see this blue wire frame, and that's now it knows that is a chain.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And if you click on the chain in the project manager, it turns from blue to grayish, and that's how you know you've clicked on the right chain. So now we're gonna create the side pocket.
Before we move on, Terence, let's say I accidentally press manual chain and can't like get rid of the chain or like stop it from like moving. Or, like,
what happens if you press escape?
I thought I tried that. Never mind.
That worked?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so go ahead and make that chain. And now we're going to make the chain for the other pocket over here. So if you're not familiar with the terminology, pocket is essentially any feature, any like hole or like removal of material that's within the part, and then contour is the outer profile. So the slot here is technically a pocket. This is definitely a pocket because it's within the geometry of the part, and that's a removal of the material. And same with this one over here. It is also a removal of the material within the part, so it's also called a pocket. So now you can just click on that face, and then you'll see it says face 864, or it may be a different number for you. Then left click again, and then press auto chain. It may have created 2 chains for you. So before we just had 1 chain, and now we have 3. You'll notice that one of those chains is the counterbore, which you can leave, which is fine, because we will need a chain for that counterbore. So it created a chain for the counterbore, and it created a chain for this pocket over here. It may have not done that for you, but if it did, it's okay. You just have now have 3 chains. If you ever want to name a chain, which isn't too useful, you can always click on the chain and right click and then press rename, and then you can name it like whatever, side pocket chain. Yeah, but not too important. What you do want to do, you always want to rename your operations once you get to that, and I'll explain that in a future time. But it's not too important that you name your chains unless you have enough to make it confusing. Then it might be useful to start naming your chains. Yeah. And when you select a part, when you select a feature, it will just turn gray. And then once you created that chain, it will create this blue wireframe. Yeah. Now we're going to create the chain for our outer profile. So we essentially tell Esprit the outer boundaries of the part. So what we're going to do, the only part of the part that is like true to the outer boundary is this bottom face. So we don't actually want to click on the face. We want to click on all the edges. That's one of the things that you want to do when you create a chain for a contour operation. You want to click on the edges, while for pockets, you want to click on the bottom face. So you want to click on every single edge on the bottom face, and you can do that by holding Control, like we've done before. Click, left click again to confirm, and you're just going to do that for every single edge on the bottom face. And you can press Control and click on your scroll wheel, and you can do that to rotate your body. Do that for all of them. And once you've selected all of those edges, you'll see where it says group count, you should have selected 7 edges. I think I've selected all of them. Yeah. And then once you've done that, you can just click on auto chain. Is anyone having trouble with creating this chain? Is everyone finished with creating the chain?
Give me 1 second.
Okay. Am I good to continue?
Yeah, you're good now. Sorry.
Okay. So if you have that bottom chain, you'll be able to click on one of them. Mine happens to be 5. It's called 5 chain, and you'll see how this wireframe encompasses the entire part, all of the outer edge. And that we're going to be using to create our contouring operation. There's also one more.
So what did you do to get everything? My apologies.
How do you?
So
What do you
because
mean?
I only have 1, 2, 4, and side pocket, but maybe I'm a little behind or missing something. Because your the bottom edges was what, 4 chain or 5 chain?
Mine was 5, but when you created the pocket for this face, the one over here, it may or may not have added the counter bore as well.
It did.
So if you click,
So like I had 1, 2, and 3, and then just like you did, and then I renamed number 3 to the side pocket chain.
okay. So if you click on side pocket, does it highlight that specific chain?
The side pocket highlights that specific chain, yes.
Okay. What does 1 chain highlight?
1 chain highlights the original pocket or whatever.
Okay, the middle pocket. And then what does 2 chain highlight?
2 chain highlights the counter bore.
And what does 4 chain highlight?
The bottom edges.
Oh. Wait a second. Four and 5 chain are the same thing for me. I may have created. What I think I did is I created that chain twice. I may have selected auto chain. I may have clicked on it twice.
Okay.
So you should only have 4 in total if you have the counter board. I'm sorry about that.
Awesome. No worries. Just wanted to double check.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have most of the features. You don't want to forget about the slot. That is also a pocket, which should be simple since we already did before. So you just click on that face, left click again, press auto chain, and then it will create a new chain that encompasses that geometry. Also, it'd be another blue wireframe that you would see. Okay, and then so that's how you're going to create chains by referencing the part. Sometimes you're going to want to create a chain that is not within the part. For sometimes when we want to contour, it's helpful to know where the stock is. So that's why we're going to create a chain that highlights the stock. It's going to be hard for you to understand why we're doing this now, but I promise you it'll make sense once we start getting into the cutting operations. But for now, just trust me on why we're doing this. It's going to be helpful in the future. So before we were in this create features toolbar. Now we're going to want to be in the unbounded geometry toolbar, which is just 2 buttons to the left. And then there you're able to make different points, lines, circles, stuff like that. Right now we're going to first assign points and then connect those points with lines. If you remembered, our stock was 8 inches long and 5 inches wide. So we're able to create these Cartesian points. Like this top left one would be -4, 2.5, and we wanted the z to be -0.5, so it's aligned with the top face of the part, which will also make sense in a future session. So you can just go ahead and click on point, switch it to Cartesian/center, and then type in all the points, all of the 4 points that you will need. So you can start with 4, and then 2.5, and then -0.5. And then just go ahead, press apply, and it'll create those points. Yep. Yeah. And you will see points if you zoom into it. There is a little X over here that's a little small, but those points are now there.
Wait, so how did you get the thing to pop up? So you click points, and then you click the face?
Click points, and then click Cartesian/center.
No, I know that just the pop-up doesn't. Never mind, I'm done.
And then press up. Yeah, okay. And then just press apply to add those points. Eventually, you'll have all 4 points, and then after that, you can just X out that. I'm just gonna give you a few more seconds to add those points. There's 4 of them that you're gonna want to add. Make sure their z values are negative 0.5, so they're aligned with the top face of the part. So when we want to connect those points with lines, it might be helpful to be in the top view. So you're looking right above it, and you can see all those 4 points that you've created with those little X's over here, one over here, here, and here. So if you click on this third option, which is called line 2, which we use to connect
Go back
2
to the
points.
presentation real quick. Sorry.
Yep.
Just want to double check. Cool. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, now we've created those 4 points, and now we're going to try to connect those 4 points with 4 different lines. So you'll press on line 2, which is the line that connects 2 points. Then you'll just click on each point, and make sure when you're clicking on the points, you see the symbol that says it's snapping to that point, which is typically an icon at the bottom right of the cursor, and snap all of those points together. And now you should have a rectangle. And you can just bring it back to isometric view, and you'll see that this rectangle is parallel to the top surface. Yeah. So once you have that done, it's now geometry. Those 4 lines are now considered geometry, but they're not chains yet. So you just go through the same procedure to create the chain by selecting all the 4 sides by holding Control. And once you've done that, you can go back into the Create Features toolbar and click Auto Chain. Now it has created a chain. And all the lines will now turn blue because it's a chain.
Would you click on for the auto feature one again? Which button was that?
You want to go right here where it
Okay.
says Create Features and then Auto Chain.
Sick.
Okay. So we have almost all the features as chains. Now we're going to do the 7 tapped holes, and then there's also a through hole over here that we're also going to do. So if we want to create chains for our holes to tell us where the holes are, we go to this option over here. Stay in the features toolbar, and then there's this button called Legacy Hole Recognition. You want to click on that, and that's right here. Click on that. Press Manual Selection. There's a way for it to just detect all the holes with the minimum diameter and the maximum diameter you specify, but I have found it easier to just manually select all the holes, so you have just better control. But if you have like hundreds of holes, then it might be worthwhile just finding it itself. But we only have like 7 tapped holes plus 1 regular hole, so
And where'd
it's
you
not
click
too
that
tough.
window again?
So just click Manual Selection, and then select all the holes by holding Control.
Sorry, what'd you click for the window?
This option over here, Legacy Hole Recognition,
Cool. Thank you.
to the right of Auto Chain. So click on that, turn on Manual Selection, and then select all of those loops. And make sure they're like being added to here, because like I've noticed that some of my having a little bit of trouble. Make sure all those features are loops. It does not want to see a face or anything else. It's only able to create a whole chain by if you select loops. So you should have 7 loops, and if you press OK, they will all become a chain. And something that's useful is that all those 7 chains for the holes are combined into one chain. And then you'll just do the same with this other through hole over here. Just press legacy hole recognition, manual selection, click on that one loop, and then press OK. And now you have 2 hole chains, one for the tap hole and one for the through hole. And that is pretty much how you create chains for holes. Has everyone created all of the chains?
And then there should be like one chain for each. After you do like the legacy thing, do you press create chain? Sorry, or the auto chain, or not?
Just press OK after you've manually selected all the holes.
So what happens when you select the holes? It shows them being selected, but there's like less than 7. I'm just like kind of curious, like they're grayed out, but like I can count only 6.
That may be because when you're selecting those geometry, you didn't select the loop. So you're saying that after you created the chain, only 6 of them are actually chains? Like it's missing one of the holes? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, I think I found the missing one. It was weird because they were all still selected. Like they all had gray on them, but there were only loops there. But there were there were 7 gray spots, obviously. So I don't know. Is it like I could like show up as selected when it's not really selected or no?
Yes. Sometimes it does that. But to confirm that you've selected all the holes, you'll see that there's a blue wireframe above. Well, it kind of encompasses the hole. And you'll see that there's 7 chains over here that put into one. And then you look at this through hole with the counter bore, it will also have its own little chain.
So then how did you get the so after you select them all, you just clicked the auto chain, right?
No. So you want to be in legacy hole recognition.
Yeah.
And then press OK with manual selection on.
Got it. Okay, got it. Cool.
And now do you see the chain on the...
Yeah, I just have hole 1.
Yep. If you click on one hole, you'll see that it has selected every single chain for the one that you for all the tapped holes that you selected.
Okay, and then I should just do legacy thingy again for the counterbore hole?
Yes.
Sweet.
Is everyone good?
I am.
Okay. That's what I have for today. For next week, or it's Tuesday, we're going to talk about different tools, adding tools into Spree, and then something called feeds and speeds. But today, we've learned how to create chains, which is very useful because we're always going to make the workflow of CAM is essentially interior part, assign a stock, create all the chains, and then add toolpaths. Toolpaths are essentially how you're programming the CNC to move your tools along the part to cut out the metal. So yeah, so we've created the first few steps. We put in the stock, put in the part, and we've created all the chains that we're going to need. And yeah, that is pretty much the first step of creating CAM.
Thank you for much for
Yeah.
hosting us.
Dude, thank you so much. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Sorry for all the interruptions, but thank you so
No
much.
worries.
Same with me.
Did
Thank
it
you.
work out for everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna press stop recording.